True shalom isn't when the external environment is perfect. True shalom is found even in the storm. It is the ability to walk on water and to follow after what he said that you can do, even though it's not optimal conditions, even though the waves haven't stopped crashing. That is true shalom. Why is sound healing such a big deal? We see in New Age philosophy very strong push towards sound healing. This idea that certain tones and frequencies can heal the body and heal the mind, restore peace. What is up with that? What do the scriptures have to say about that? The scriptures focus on making a joyful noise unto Yahuwah. Cymbals, tambourines, these sort of things were used to honor and to give praise unto the Most High. In the scriptures, when a believer makes a sound, it is to give praise. It is to be obedient. If you're prophesying, then you're speaking the words that he gave you to say. But never is it done to edify the self. You encourage yourself through his words, but New Age seeks to heal the self, by the self, for the self. There's this phenomenon in sound frequency called resonance. It's when you take one tuning fork and you put it near another. That second tuning fork vibrates at the same frequency as the first. In this rite, people are under the persuasion that sound healing, if you have certain frequencies or tunes near the body, near the brain, that certain infirmities can leave. And while some studies may suggest that this is true, I want to talk about the spiritual significance of sound healing. One of the biggest examples of sound healing that I can think of in the scriptures is King Saul. He once walked with Yahweh, and then as soon as he was anointed and he began his rulership as king, he violated the rules that Yahweh had set apart. In fact, he started to try to act as his own priest instead of allowing the priest to do what is commanded in the law. It's interesting because Yahweh's ruach, his spirit, left, his shalom left King Saul's side. And so as a result of this, King Saul battled with anxiety. And this anxiety was really intense. As a matter of fact, David was called to help satiate, to help pacify this anxiety that King Saul had. You've got this king, and he calls this boy, this shepherd boy, to come and minister to him using sound. And the sound would soothe his soul temporarily, but then the angst would return, the jealousy would return, the rage returned, and it turned against David. And that's the thing, it's like when we seek to soothe the soul without his ruach, without obedience to his Torah, that's when the anxiety returns. I've witnessed so many people who follow New Age philosophy. They say that they turn to it to abate their anxiety. I too once sought this, the healing bowls, the gongs, the sounds, to help feel better. There's even chairs where if you pluck the strings on the backs of them, it's supposed to cure certain ailments, get rid of certain toxins, help alleviate cancer. But the thing is that when we seek healing outside of his ruach, the anxiety returns, the ailment returns. It's not forever. The only true remedy to healing anxiety is to live in his shalom. It's to observe his Torah, is to observe his mitzvah. I find it very interesting how Yahushua said is in the last days, he's going to say to those, "Depart from me, you workers of iniquity, I never knew you." To those who committed iniquity. Iniquity is lawlessness. It is the departure from Torah, from the departure from instruction. These people are going to say, "I casted out demons in your name." Anxiety is a demon. And so the ability to cast out a demon does not necessarily mean that one is in union with Yahweh. As a matter of fact, Yahushua says, "Do not rejoice that the spirits, these evil spirits, obey you when you tell them to go. Rejoice rather that your name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life." New Age offers so many solutions to pacify evil spirits, to calm them, to give the body and the mind relief from ailments that are triggered from disobedience or a lack of even knowledge of what the Torah is. Sometimes I believe Yahweh uses affliction to get our attention. So one of the things that really pulled me out of New Age was Yahusha's example. Think about the fact that he walks on water through the storm. He walks on water through the storm. So New Age seeks to make the physical optimal for peace. Efforts through sound healing, through clean eating, through meditation, all of these are efforts to make the surrounding physical environment safe for the soul within the body. But Yahusha had shalom, even though that there were raging storms and true panic. Like, you had these disciples, these men who were fishermen, very accustomed to the seas, and they were really upset about this storm. And he spoke to it and he said, "Peace, be still." And they said, "Who is this that could command the winds and the rains to be still, that even this tempest would obey him?" That is true shalom. True shalom isn't when the external environment is perfect. True shalom is found even in the storm. It is the ability to walk on water and to follow after what he said that you can do, even though it's not optimal conditions, even though the waves haven't stopped crashing. That is true shalom. So I feel from my experience that New Age is like Satan's, Hasatan's attempt to replicate the shalom that Yahweh offers his people. What he does is he says, focus on these external things. Look at all this distraction outwardly. It shouldn't matter, because obedience is not contingent on external circumstances. Adam and Eve were placed in a garden that was designed optimally for them to sustain themselves with Yahweh. But there was instruction given that said, if you eat from this tree, you're going to divorce yourself from the shalom that I've given you. The decision to eat from other fruit that we've been commanded not to is what disrupts that shalom. And this is echoed through the scriptures. It's like the departure from what we're supposed to do yields unwanted results, spiritually, emotionally, physically. And see, this is what Satan wants us to focus on. He wants us to focus on how can we get our external environment good, when really it's not about that at all. Obedience is usually seen most when we're walking through water. We're walking through tempests, when we got to see him work in a miraculous way to part the seas. It's when the pursuing army is coming after us and we don't think that we have anywhere to go. That is when Yahweh shows up. That's when the miracles happen. It's not reliance on the self to create the optimal environment. It's not the reliance on the self. And it's not to say that you shouldn't take care of your body. You should, because it is his temple. But it is, and there's very strict rules about how to treat the body and to how to take care of the temple. But it is not to make a god out of it. And I found that sound healing, when I was around practitioners of New Age, there was such a focus on these external measures to give healing. It was just a matter of time before King Saul sought divination in order to pacify his wondering about his status. And he wants to invoke the Ruach of Shamuel to tell him what's going on because of his anxiety. He first sought David to soothe his anxiety by playing the harp. Then he starts throwing javelins at him. And now you advance through the story, and King Saul, right before he is killed, he seeks a soothsayer in order to confirm what's going to happen to him. But see, the angst, this spirit of satisfying the external environment, is never satisfied. It is a different type of gluttony. So to kill frogs, or to hurt frogs, or to capture frogs in order to get combo, in order to soothe the body and the mind. It's like, please play the singing bowl in order to pacify my ache. Please do these things for me in order to make me feel better about myself. But that feel better only comes from a relationship with him. It wasn't until I really had a deep, sincere relationship with Yahweh that I stopped looking to my external environment to validate me, because it's not about me at all. And I realized that when I submit myself to his order, to his kingdom, to his chessboard that rules above, then I realized that I'm being positioned strategically in order to do his will. And that doesn't mean that sometimes I don't get frustrated. It doesn't mean sometimes I don't feel like, well, Father, have you forgotten me? But then it's like I remember that his timing is not my timing. His ways are not my ways. And in due time, I see the reason behind the things that I had to overcome, that he brought me through to overcome. And so I stopped looking at the waves in that moment as these unfair tempest that's thrown at me. I start to realize that he's still ordering my steps and he's keeping me afloat. So it's not always easy. What I'm saying it to do, to stop trying to change the external environment to make the internal feel better, that's not something that's inherently easy for us to do, because it goes against everything that we're taught to do. But it is the true method of shalom. It is the reason why in the Matrix, that little boy said, there is no spoon. It's because the minute that we start thinking that the external environment is what it is, and it is hard to move, that is when we can't move at all. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. For those who have ordered a book, I truly appreciate you. Shalom and ahava as always. Peace.